Once again, our game of the week takes us out west to Pac-12 country, where number 5, Washington, takes on number 11, Oregon State in Corvallis. The Huskies enter the game as the Pac-12's lone unbeaten team in the thick of the college football playoff hunt, while Oregon State is looking to play spoiler to those playoff hopes and also try to keep their Pac-12 title hopes alive. Should be in for a great game on Saturday. The million-dollar question is, who's going to emerge with this massive victory? We're going to tell you right now. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. We are on a 66-35 run against the spread. That's over 65% right now against the spread. So that's better than pretty much everybody out there in the country. That's better than all the top handicappers in the country. That's one of the best prices in the country. One of the best customer service in the country. We've got the best thing going here at the Gridiron Expert, guys, and we want you to become a part of it. So go sign up for those picks to get these guaranteed winnings, to get the best servers out there. Been the best servers for 5 years running, going on 6 this year. Again, go sign up, become a member of our team for a full year-long subscription, and start winning with us today. So let's take a look at this game, guys. A top 11 matchup, really, out in Corvallis, where Oregon State is 17-1 at home. 17-1 in Corvallis, dating back to 2021. So it's one of the most difficult places to play in the country. It has been for the last 3 years. Question is, can Washington overcome Corvallis? Can they overcome Oregon State on the road? Well, let's talk about these two teams. We'll talk about the offense first. We'll start with the Huskies. Obviously, if you follow college football, if you followed the Huskies this year, you know they have one of the best offenses in the entire country, led by one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country in Michael Penix. The Huskies are averaging over 504 yards per game. They have the number 1 passing offense, led by Penix, 378 yards per game. He has thrown for over 3,500 yards and 28 touchdowns. Is an absolute Heisman Trophy contender. And he's got some great wide receivers at his disposal as well, namely Rome Odunze, who has already had over 1,100 reception yards and 9 touchdowns on the year. Jalen Polk, though, could very well hit that 1,000-yard mark on Saturday night, 943 yards, 8 touchdowns. This is an offense that's averaging over 41 points per game. They've been held to under 31 points just once this year. That weird 15-7 victory over Arizona State just a few weeks ago. But you look at this Huskies team, guys, when they're on, when they're clicking, they are very, very difficult to stop. And this is probably going to be the toughest offense that Oregon State has seen all year long. And the Beavers getting the brunt of that, right? They've got to play Washington this Saturday, and they've got Oregon the very next week. So 2 of the best offenses in the country in back-to-back weeks. But again, the Beavers really haven't seen offense of this caliber all year long, so it'll be interesting to see, number 1, can their defense stop it? But number 2, can their offense match it? When you look at the Beavers' offense, the one thing that stands out to me, obviously, is that they are more balanced than that of Washington, right? The Huskies want to air it out. They're going to throw it with Michael Penix. They kind of have a little bit of a running game, but really not that much. It's not that great. Ranks in the lower end of all the teams in the country in terms of rushing offense. That's not their forte. Oregon State, on the other hand, they're 19th overall in total offense, 453 yards per game, 256 of those coming through the air with DJ Uiagalelei, who's thrown for over 2,200 yards and 20 touchdowns. Really found himself in Corvallis after a tumultuous career, short one, I should say, at Clemson. They also averaged nearly 200 rushing yards per game. That's a big difference maker there. The fact that Oregon State can come into this game and maybe beat Washington, not just through the air with DJ Uiagalelei, who, again, we mentioned has 20 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, takes great care of the football, but can beat you on the ground with a guy like Deshaun Fenwick and Damian Martinez. A 1,000-yard rusher, I should say, in Damian Martinez. The offensive line for the Beavers has been dominant. We talked about that all year long, how strong they are, not just on the offensive line, only allowed 13 sacks this year, but the defensive line as well. If you are Jonathan Smith and Oregon State entering this game, you've got to tell yourself, hey, we've got the balance. That's one advantage we have over Washington. We might not be as fast, we might not be as explosive as the Huskies, but if we can go out there, take our time, dominate the time of possession, the longer our offense is out there on the field, the longer our defense gets a rest, and the longer Michael Penix is not out on the field, the longer we keep him off the field. So if you're Oregon State, maintain your balance, keep the Huskies offense off the field, get long, methodical drives that result in points, and you got a very good chance to win this game. Because defensively, guys, Washington's not that good. Plain and simple, the Huskies are the 5th-ranked team in the country. They're undefeated, but they are not that good. And they're really bad in the secondary. Washington, guys, allowing 270 passing yards per game. That ranks 125th in the entire country. They're also giving up over 140 rushing yards per game, and if I'm a Washington fan, yeah, I'm a little concerned about that. You can't stop the pass. You're not that great against the run. Very leaky there. And if you look at some of their more recent games, the thing with Washington is it feels like they're just kind of getting by. They have survived this year. They survived Oregon. They survived Arizona State. They survived USC. They survived Stanford. They're just getting by. Look at the numbers. They allowed 382 yards to Utah last week. The Utes do not have a good offense at all, and yet they still allowed 28 points to the Utes, 267 passing yards in that game. They allowed 515 yards of offense to USC, over 200 of those coming on the ground. They allowed 495 yards of offense to Stanford, 367 of those coming through the air, 341 yards to Arizona State. Yes, they held the Sun Devils to just 7 points in that game, but still, 341 yards to an offense that's really not all that good. 541 to Oregon. Look, the Huskies have been outgained. They have been outgained in 3 of their last 5 games. That's a concern, right? The offense is great. They're explosive. They can put up a bunch of points, but the defense has shown they really can't stop anybody. They've only generated 13 sacks this year, so the defensive line, the front seven's horrible. They cannot generate any pressure, and they're not going to generate any pressure on Oregon State's strong offensive line. So if you're Washington's defense, yeah, I'm concerned. If you're Washington and you look at the history of these last 5, 6, 7 games where they've just gotten by, really not blowing teams out of the water, you're mildly concerned entering this game in a tough environment at night against a very efficient offense. You should be concerned. Oregon State, on the other hand, look, their defense is, I would say, better than Washington's, obviously. They're only giving up 20.5 points per game. That's it. They're giving up 230 passing yards per game, 102 rushing yards per game. So this one of their biggest strengths is stopping the run. That's not going to really be a factor here against an offense in Washington that doesn't want to run, right? Huskies may try every now and then. Oregon State, that front seven is going to bottle it up. So obviously, if Washington's going to win the game, they're going to have to win it with Michael Penix, and we're not surprised by that because it's what they want to do. Why wouldn't you when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country? So if you're Oregon State defensively, you're going to have one heck of a showing from your secondary. You're going to have one heck of a day from your pass defense, finding a way to either generate pressure on Michael Penix or turn him over a few times. You can force a couple turnovers and then convert off of those. You're going to be looking really, really good. And you look at a couple games that Oregon State's lost this year, right? They allowed 422 passing yards to Washington State. They allowed 275 passing yards to Arizona. They've only allowed, outside of that, they've only allowed 250 passing yards or more 3 times this year. Those 2 we just mentioned. The other one, a dominant victory over San Diego State back in week 3. This is the team that's generated 36 sacks. They forced 18 turnovers on the year, 12 of those being interceptions. So the Beavers do have the defensive capability to slow down this electric of an offense, even though this will be the best offense, like we mentioned, that the Beavers have seen all year long. So an interesting clash of style here, an interesting storyline to watch, but Oregon State does own the defensive edge. Washington does own the offensive edge, even though they're not as balanced as the Beavers. So now the question is, what gives? What gives? Washington owns offense. Oregon State owns defense. What will happen on Saturday night in Corvallis? Here's the thing. We've talked all year long, especially the last few months, that this is the last year of the Pac-12 and that it's been such a deep conference. It's been such a competitive conference, and yet the conference continues to cannibalize each other. They continue to beat up on each other, so much so that despite having such good teams like Washington, Oregon, Oregon State, Utah, teams like that, they may still not get a team into the college football playoff. That's a legitimate possibility here. And you look at this game, a major, major trap game for Washington. A major trap game for the Huskies. They've gotten by. They're undefeated. They're looking good. They're legit playoff contenders. And they stroll into Corvallis, hoping to get a win, hoping to keep those playoff hopes alive. They win this, they probably beat Washington State, which means the Pac-12 championship game is a college football playoff play-in game for the Huskies. Thing is, that could still be the case here in a few weeks, but they're not going to be undefeated when it happens. Oregon State pulls off the upset in Corvallis. They're 17-1 at home since 2021. This crowd is going to be rocking. They're hungry for an upset. Washington's luck is going to run out on Saturday night. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be exciting, electric. The Beavers get the win. Jonathan Smith's squad jumps into the top 10 entering the final week of the season. Oregon State going to be absolutely massive next Friday night. Pac-12 title hopes on the line, playoff hopes on the line. Washington's playoff hopes not over completely with this loss, but take a major hit as Oregon State shocks the nation and once again creates chaos, not just in the conference, but on the national stage as well. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube, picking Oregon State to upset Washington on Saturday night in our game of the week. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks where we are on a 66-35 run against the spread. Do not miss out on those picks, guys. Some of the best spread picks in the entire country. We want you to start winning with us today. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.